Welcome back to Headlines. I'm Wes Austin, and these are today's top stories. First, a bill in the Senate wants to shut down government credit cards for employees who don't actually exist. The fact that we need legislation to stop paying imaginary people tells you everything you need to know about the government. Then, Senate Republicans used the nuclear option to speed up Trump's nominees. Finally, a nuclear option that doesn't involve Iran. Next, Stephen King apologizes for a nasty comment about Charlie Kirk, but not really. Most people use apologies to take responsibility. Stephen King uses them to workshop new material for the lefties. And finally, Roseanne Barr torches Howard Stern after his latest publicity stunt. Howard Stern is like an STD. He peaked in the 90s, and now people just want him to go away quietly with a prescription. And then we go to the comment section. So we're going to look at a comment on the segment we did about the magistrate who released the guy that stabbed Irina Zarutska in Charlotte. The question basically boiled down to, how can you be a judge without a license to practice law? Okay, let's dive in. A new bill in the Senate would deactivate government-issued credit cards for non-existent employees. I guess it's extremely difficult to distinguish between a real government employee and an imaginary one. The bill would require federally issued credit cards to be deactivated immediately when an employee leaves their job. In government time, immediately means 6 to 8 years pending committee review. An audit earlier this year found the federal government had 4.6 million active credit cards in circulation, but only 3 million employees. That's almost as suspicious as Biden's vote count. Reports found that the Department of War had been billed for 8,000 transactions at high-risk locations such as casino ATMs and over 3,000 transactions at nightclubs and bars. So while you were struggling to pay rent, your money was making it rain for Destiny and Sparkle at Sapphire's Gentlemen's Club. Do you think if they actually pass this law that people will file a lawsuit to try to stop it from being implemented? I mean, I would not be surprised if all these invisible people came forward and they're like, we're still using those cards for Vegas and we don't want them canceled. Senate Republicans on Thursday invoked the nuclear option to accelerate the confirmation of President Trump's nominees. Democrats are calling this unprecedented, except for 2013 when they did it for Obama. The Senate voted along party lines to allow lower-level nominees to be confirmed in groups of up to 48 by a simple majority vote. It does not cover cabinet secretaries or judicial nominees. So far, Senate Democrats have blocked more nominees than ever before as a way to oppose President Trump. Blocking Trump nominees has become the Democrats' full-time job, which is a good thing since doing something productive isn't really their strong suit. This move echoes a 2013 precedent when then Majority Leader Harry Reid and Senate Democrats eliminated the 60-vote threshold for confirming Obama's nominees. Senate Democrats are upset that Trump's nominees will get through. Look, if Democrats want to pick the nominees themselves, they should try this thing called winning elections. After the assassination of Charlie Kirk, Stephen King posted this on X. He advocated stoning gays to death, just saying. Stephen King. He's not just good at writing about monsters, he is one. After being skewered on X, Stephen King ended up deleting the post and apologizing, kind of. He said this, "I apologize for saying Charlie Kirk advocated stoning gays. What he actually demonstrated was how some people cherry-pick biblical passages." I'm not sure Stephen should be commenting on the Bible. The closest he's ever come to the Bible is turning it into a prop for an exorcism scene. Roseanne Barr tore into Howard Stern after his prank on his SiriusXM show, where he pretended his show was getting canceled as a publicity stunt. Roseanne posted this on X. Howard Stern still having a hard time realizing he is a p*** now. Maybe one day before he really quits, he will realize where he went wrong, shilling for fascists and pro-cancel culture. He used to be a bastion of free speech, and now he's a shill. I agree with Roseanne. Stern used to be the outlaw of radio. Now he's basically NPR with the perm. And now onto the comment section. So we're first going to look at a few comments on this segment that we did about Kamala's new book, where she, went after Biden about a few things. So we have this comment from John Kellett 2669. You mean Kamala Harris fan base can actually read? I didn't say that. I didn't say that for sure, but maybe they're all just going to do the audiobook and just listen to it. Some of them probably can read, but not well. Okay, this is from Who346. She didn't write that because it makes sense and there's no laughing. When I read that, I thought it would have been funny if her first draft, she sent it into the editor and it was just 30 pages and there's no punctuation, there's no period. It's just this rambling forever sentence that has to do with yellow buses and the passage of time or something. But a ghostwriter had to write almost everything, correct? I mean, I would think that there's some ghostwriter who's responsible for a big chunk of that, but I don't know that for sure. So, okay, this comment from Chris Perry 9002. Kamala's book should come with a pair of knee pads. Okay, well, sorry, I hope that wasn't too dirty, but it wasn't explicit. Okay, let's see. Oh, and then in my comments yesterday, I had asked about the Dollar Tree because somebody said, oh, everything's, the things are $1.25 there. And so I had asked, you mean they're not $1? Because I didn't know that for sure. And a bunch of people commented and answered that, which I appreciated. So we're going to look at some of these just because they were kind enough to answer me. This was the original comment that sparked my Dollar Tree question about Kamala's book from Sparks Wayne 2820. Give it 8 weeks and Kamala's book will be at Dollar Tree for $1.25 plus tax. And so I had said, if it's a Dollar Tree, shouldn't it be $1? I didn't understand that, and a bunch of people jumped in here. So here are just a couple of examples. One from Coop G3G. Here's your answer, Mr. Austin. Nothing for $1 anymore, nothing for $1.25, but it seems $1.50 and up is the new name of their game. Call them Dollars All Gone Tree. And then this is from Leanne Copsey. The dollar store costs $1.25 now instead of $1. Everything is $1.25 now. And a few people said they have things like $3 or $4. Anyway, so they're not $1 anymore. And I don't get to places like that really mainly because my wife doesn't like it when I shop. Because I buy candy all the time. So she doesn't like it when I go to the grocery store, dollar store, nothing. If I'm ever going to go to the grocery store with one of my daughters, she will give them a lecture on take your dad right to the vegetables, you guys get the broccoli, and then go right to the checkout stand. Don't let him go where the candy bars are. Don't let him go in the ice cream aisle. So I don't get out much because when I do, I buy a bunch of stuff. I remember, sorry if I'm going off on a tangent, but I remember this was a few years ago. I got off the leash in the grocery store and I found the aisle with Oreo cookies. Do you know how many different kinds of Oreo cookies they have? It was insane. So I think I swear it was 4 different packages of Oreos and my wife lost her mind. Anyway, long story short, she doesn't like it when I'm around food where I can buy stuff. Okay, on to the segment that we did about the magistrate judge who released the guy that stabbed Irina Zarutska. So we had this question. We were talking about her education, I think, on the last show we did. And this is from Sandra Flowers, 2547. Isn't it against the law to practice law without a law degree? That's like being your own lawyer when you have been charged with a crime. You have a fool for a client. I think that's how it goes. So yes, but it is against the law to practice law without a license. And in most jurisdictions, like every state has laws against this. It's called the unauthorized practice of law. And in some states it's a misdemeanor. I'll throw up one example. I think this is from Utah, but in some states it's a misdemeanor. I think in some states it's a felony. But it is against the law to practice law without a license. So what about judges? Right? Now the Constitution, for federal judges, the Constitution doesn't actually have any requirements that you... A car just went by my house. Did you guys hear that? I apologize. But for federal judges, the Constitution doesn't have any requirement for them to be a licensed lawyer. So they really don't have that requirement. But as a matter of practice, all the federal judges do. They are licensed to practice law because they're never going to get nominated or through that process. But where you will find some judges without a license to practice law are in some of these state courts. Some of the lower state courts, they don't require them to actually have a license to practice law. So like some examples, I think, were some magistrates and some lower, like justices of the peace and things like that. And obviously the magistrate in that particular case, that must be one of those jurisdictions where they don't require them to have been a practicing lawyer before they become a judge. Thanks for watching Headlines, and thank you everyone for sharing my videos with your friends and family. I really do appreciate it. I'm Wes Austin. Good night.